I have to come with it all. I have to do more. Obviously, just to secure the win is doing just enough to get a draw. So I have to push harder. I have to train harder. I have to be more mean. I have to be more physical. I have to do a lot. I have to do everything just a little more. And I think that will definitely put me over the hump. And
is it gonna be a rematch, or y'all still working on it, or what's the plan?
It's gonna be a rematch.
But it's not.
9 times out of 10,
sealed and delivered.
Yeah, it's on the way.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
Tank Davis and Lamont Roach are officially set for a highly anticipated rematch, one that's expected to be even more intense than their first showdown. Controversy from their last fight has only added fuel to the fire, with both fighters determined to settle the score. The rematch is scheduled for June 21st in Las Vegas, and judging by the energy from both camps, this one won't be decided by the judges. Tank has already sent a warning to Roach, saying he won't even make it to the final rounds. However, Roach is just as confident, declaring that he's going to defeat Tank again. 2. Roach hasn't held back about his frustrations, particularly with referee Willis. He believes Willis made several critical mistakes that affected the outcome, from allowing Davis extra time to recover after taking a knee to overlooking what Roach claims were illegal moves in the corner. He feels like he was robbed of a rightful victory.
Unfairly denied a victory.
And hopefully we will be getting that rematch. I think that's really big, man. If we do get that rematch on June the 21st, I believe that'll be big news. I believe that'll be big, man. So if we can get that fight, man, that would be.
Hey, no chance. He can't ref the next fight, Roach vented. Look at how many times he messed things up. The knee, him getting help in the corner. While he stopped short of outright calling Davis a cheater, he made it clear that Davis benefited from questionable officiating. You can't do that. That's a disqualification, period.
Who cares? Like, sweat gonna get in your eye, blood gonna get in your eye, spit fuck around and get in your eye. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like you can be like, all right, time out, ref. Hold on, ref. You can't do that.
Right. Would you be cool with Steve Willis doing the next fight?
Hell no.
He can't do the next fight.
Roach and his team even took it a step further by filing a petition with the NISAC, hoping to get the decision overturned. But their request was quickly denied. With no other option, Roach shifted his focus toward securing an immediate rematch. Now, that fight is nearly finalized. I'm telling you right now, I'm signed and sealed. Roach confirmed. Now,
Roach Tank, Haney Garcia.
Roach Tank. I mean, first of all, Tank. First of all, Tank is just bigger than Haney and Ryan both. And recency bias, that just happened. Haney was last year. This just happened. More people, like Haney didn't get a song. Well, he did get a song. But that's what I'm saying. His song is dead or dying out. Tank's is popping. Like, it's Tank's time right now. Tank is in our mind more than Haney.
Meanwhile, Davis has taken a different approach. Unlike Roach, he hasn't gone on media rants or placed blame on anyone. Instead, he's locked in and focused on training. His camp says he's using all the criticism as motivation. He hears what people are saying. Coach Calvin Ford revealed. That's why he's all business this time. No distractions, no nonsense. He's coming to make a statement. Davis finally spoke up himself, making it crystal clear that he won't let this fight go to the judges. This one's not going the distance, Davis stated. I'm closing the show.
Live and you learn. I definitely could have. That was on me too. That was on me for sure. Cause I ain't pick it up when I supposed to pick it up. And I could have definitely did more. He caught me with a good shot, but it was times that I sat in there with him and I'm like, damn, this guy like super slow. Well, not super slow, but he's slow. And I could have.
The WBA has already ruled that the rematch is mandatory, meaning Davis either accepts the fight or risks losing his title. But even if the belt weren't at stake, Tank has made it clear he's taking the fight. He's not here for technicalities. He wants to erase any doubts. In his mind, Roach was lucky to even make it to the final bell the first time. This time, he intends to finish the job. However, Roach is convinced he has the strategy to win. He saw gaps in Davis's game, took advantage of them early, and forced the champion to make adjustments.
and forced the champion into situations where he had to adjust.
And in there for 12.
He got decent power. He got decent power for sure. I ain't gonna say it's exaggerated. I told y'all I got a chin. I ain't going like that. It's just not gonna happen. But like I said, I see why he knocked people out, and I think he felt my power too. Like I think that's what negated a lot of his shots. And once I took his best shot, I was like, oh yeah, it's time to roll.
Roach's ability to move, counterpunch, and stay disciplined kept the fight competitive. In his mind, that was enough to secure the win outright. But Davis's power was always a factor, and Roach knows avoiding it for 12 rounds won't be easy. Negotiations for the rematch have moved quickly, with both fighters eager to settle the score. Roach's promoter, Gary Jonas, confirmed they're just waiting on the final paperwork. But the fight is essentially locked in, with Las Vegas as a stage and the controversy from their first fight still fresh. This rematch is shaping up to be even bigger.
Everyone's mind, how close is the rematch? How big will it be? How close is it to getting done?
Very close. It's in my mind, it's a done deal, but there are formalities, but it's a done deal and it's not far off. I can't give you more than that right now, but what I can tell you is that it's going to be an interesting fight. I think you got dynamics. You've got Gervonta, who's probably going to be angry, probably woken up, probably more focused than he has been, not talking about retirement. That's a factor.
Roach remains confident, but isn't underestimating Davis. He still believes his biggest obstacle wasn't Tank. It was the officiating. That's why he's pushing for a neutral referee in a fair fight. Convinced that under those conditions, he'll prove he's a superior boxer. Davis, however, sees it completely differently. To him, Roach wasn't winning. He was just surviving. He never felt like he was in serious danger and believes Roach spent more time avoiding than actually fighting. That's why this time, Davis is coming in more aggressive, openly aiming for a knockout.
About it was he was coming up a weight.
Right.
And coming up a weight, and you're fighting immediately the head of the class. And what you and Cannon have taught me about weight classes they are important. They are in place for a reason. So don't just sit here and just act like he was just like that. Now, he came out there and fought an amazing fight. He had an amazing game plan, and I immediately really want.
Or is Crawford just taking another shot at Tank?
At caliber.
If Tank was not so cocky to be on a Terrence Crawford undercard, that would be dope. But I don't see Tank taking a backseat for no fighter, because he'll think it's the Tank show. So I don't know, but it should be a good undercard.
This isn't going 12 rounds, Davis declared. I'm ending it early, watch me. But in the midst of all this, Terrence Crawford has stirred the pot even more. Crawford has been throwing jabs at Tank. Not in the ring, but through the media. He's been vocal about how Roach was robbed and insists Davis should have lost. But this time, he took a step further by calling Tank out for something he knows will sting. Crawford wants Davis to fight Shakur Stevenson on the undercard of his September 13th showdown with Canelo Alvarez. Just like that, Crawford is making headlines again. But is this really about boxing, or is he just looking for another way to take a shot at Tank? Crawford knows exactly what he's doing by suggesting Tank should be on his undercard. He's pushing the idea that Davis isn't the real face of boxing, making it seem like he needs the extra exposure. But let's be real. Who needs who here? If anything, it's Crawford, who could use Tank to boost his own fight. Tank doesn't need to be on anyone's undercard. His fights sell out on their own. Meanwhile, Crawford's pay-per-view track record isn't exactly impressive. Outside his fight with Errol Spence, most of his PPV events have flopped. Even against Canelo, there's no guarantee it'll be the massive event he's hoping for. But Crawford isn't just questioning Tank's status. He's coming for his pride, too. If Tank wasn't so cocky, being on my undercard would be dope, Crawford said. In other words, he's implying that Tank's ego is getting in the way of a smart business move. But let's be honest, would Crawford ever fight on Tank's undercard? Not a chance. That's why this feels more like a diss than a genuine suggestion. He's testing Tank, seeing if he can provoke a reaction, and let's be real, he probably will. The tension between these two has been growing for a while. Crawford has taken plenty of subtle jabs at Davis before, even calling Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis the best lightweights in boxing, completely ignoring Tank's achievements. It's as if Crawford wants to pretend Tank isn't even part of the conversation. But let's not forget, this is the same Gervonta Davis who has knocked out 28 of his 31 opponents. The same fighter who sells out arenas and shatters pay-per-view records. The same Tank who made Ryan Garcia quit with a single body shot. Yet, according to Crawford, Lamont Roach is the only fighter out of 31 who came close to beating him. In reality, Crawford, like many others, believes Roach actually won that fight. That's the root of his argument. He sees Tank taking a beating in the rematch. But why is Crawford acting like Tank has something to prove? Maybe because deep down, he knows Tank is a bigger star than he is. And that's got to sting for a guy who considers himself one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Crawford may be undefeated, but he hasn't built the kind of worldwide fan base that Tank has. Now, as he moves up to fight Canelo, he realizes he needs every bit of star power he can get. See, the truth is Tank versus Shakur isn't happening anytime soon. It's not just about pride, it's about business. Shakur isn't a big draw, he's a talented fighter. But his style doesn't excite casual fans. Tank has made it clear that if he's going to fight someone, it has to be worth it. And let's be real, Shakur isn't bringing in massive pay-per-view numbers. On the other hand, a rematch with Ryan Garcia now, that is money if Tank is looking at his options. Why would he settle for a fight with Shakur when he could cash in against Ryan again? And let's not ignore the real issue. Crawford and Tank aren't even in the same weight class. Crawford is fighting at 168 for this match, which is way above Tank's division. So why is he bringing up Tank at all? Many believe it's because he knows Tank is the real superstar. Dropping Tank's name gets people talking, but it's a risky move. If Crawford keeps calling him out, it's only a matter of time before Tank claps back. And if there's one thing we all know about Gervonta Davis, it's that he never holds back. Rolando Romero believes Gervonta Davis will make the right adjustments to win his rematch against Lamont Roach. Speaking to the ring, he explained that Roach shocked everyone with his performance, even surprising himself. But Romero is convinced that Davis won't let that happen again. He reminded everyone that Davis is a 3-division world champion and one of the best fighters of this era. In his view, the rematch needs to happen because the first fight left too many unanswered questions. Not everyone agrees that adjustments alone will be enough. A growing number of fans believe Roach didn't just have a good night. He exposed flaws in Davis's game. Some argue that Davis's struggles weren't just about underestimating Roach, but proof that he isn't as dominant as people thought. Roach showed he could take Davis's punches, walk him down, and put him in tough situations. If Davis's power wasn't enough to stop Roach the first time, why would it be any different in the rematch? Ryan Garcia is backing Davis completely. Speaking to ES News, he admitted Davis might have expected an easier fight. Garcia believes Davis thought Roach would fold under pressure, and when that didn't happen, it threw him off. But in the rematch, Garcia expected a different version of Davis, one that's fully prepared for a war. In his opinion, Davis wins this time simply by taking Roach seriously. Some fans believe Garcia's support is more personal than objective. If Davis wins, it makes Garcia's loss to him look better. But if Roach puts on another great performance, it raises questions about how good Davis really is. That's why Garcia is watching closely, especially since a future rematch with Davis is still on the table. However, Garcia is focused on his own career. He's set to fight Rolando Romero at Times Square in May. If he wins, a rematch with Devin Haney is also on the horizon, which could eventually lead to another fight with Tank. Tim Bradley, on the other hand, isn't convinced Davis deserved the draw. After rewatching the fight, he changed his scorecard. On his YouTube channel, Bradley first analyzed the moment Davis took a knee. He didn't hold back, calling it a clear knockdown. He pointed out that Davis got hit, dropped to a knee, and then claimed something got in his eye. Bradley wasn't buying it. He reminded everyone that in boxing, fighters don't get to take their own timeouts. If Davis had a problem, it was up to the referee to handle it. Bradley also mentioned that if Davis's braids were bothering him, that was his own fault. He chose that hairstyle, so he had to deal with the consequences. After reviewing the fight again, Bradley now believes Roach clearly won. He scored it either 7 rounds to 5 or even 8 rounds to 4 in Roach's favor. He emphasized that he wasn't trying to disrespect Davis. He just felt that Roach did more. In Bradley's eyes, Davis wasn't active enough, and Roach controlled more of the fight than most people initially gave him credit for. Not everyone agrees with Bradley. Sean Porter, speaking on the Porterway podcast, defended the draw. He acknowledged that many believe Roach won, but urged people to watch the fight again before jumping to conclusions. Porter argued that just because Davis wasn't in control the whole time doesn't mean he lost every close round. He originally scored the fight a draw and still stands by that call. However, Porter did admit that Roach fought an incredible fight. He said that if Roach had been given the win, he wouldn't have argued. But at the same time, if Roach had lost outright, that would have been a problem, especially because of the knockdown that in Porter's view. The knockdown was legitimate, and Davis was lucky it didn't impact the score more than it did. These different opinions show just how controversial the fight was. Some believe Davis was lucky to escape with a draw, while others think the result was fair. But one thing is certain, Davis is under pressure to prove himself in the rematch. If he wins decisively, he can silence the critics. But if Roach pushes him to the limit again, or even beats him, it will damage Davis's reputation as one of boxing's top stars. There's also a bigger conversation happening about Davis's career. Some argue that he's been protected for too long, and that the Roach fight was the first real test he's faced. They believe his team has carefully chosen opponents who couldn't expose his weaknesses. But now that someone has challenged him, people are questioning if he's really as dominant as he's been made out to be. Others believe the rematch will settle the debate. If Davis wins convincingly, it will prove the first fight was just an off night. But if he struggles again, or worse, loses, it could completely change the way he's viewed in the sport. The stakes couldn't be higher, and Davis knows it. That's why this time he's expected to step into the ring with a whole new mindset. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more updates.